In my last video, I recapped Kashimo's most important moments throughout the series to share some insight about his actions and motives. However, the video itself was extremely subpar for the quality I ideally want to put out, and it didn't tackle the power scaling aspect of Kashimo that most of you guys wanted. As an apology, today we're going to be going over Kashimo vs Ryu. This topic has been covered before on YouTube by other creators, and one who specifically deserves more love is Holy Knight J. J's channel and video will be linked in the description below, and I recommend you all give it a watch. Both of these characters are some of the favorites among the Culling game antagonists, and even the Culling game participants as a whole. Kashimo and Ryu both partake in arguably some of the best fights we've ever seen in Jujutsu Kaisen against some of the strongest sorcerers in the series. On their own, they're some of the strongest fighters in the Culling games, making fans debating between the two powerhouses a given. For the sake of the video, we'll say that instead of Hakari and Panda encountering Kashimo, Ryu, who started in Tokyo Colony 2 instead of Sendai, managed to encounter Kashimo in the same shipping yard Kashimo encountered Panda. If you enjoy Jujutsu Kaisen content, please leave a like and subscribe, and comment on some video ideas you want to see be done down below. Let's first start with Kashimo. The first real encounter Kashimo faces is his battle against Panda. Although Kashimo doesn't use his cursed technique, his most formidable quality is his cursed energy. Unlike most sorcerers, Kashimo's cursed energy bears a trait similar to electricity. Panda compares his trait to Megami's Nue, saying that Kashimo's in a constant state of electrification, making his attacks impossible to defend against. Kashimo's able to punch straight through Panda's gut, and Panda even remarks that Kashimo's insanely fast. He continues to absolutely beat down Panda until he enters his big sister form, but even then it's not enough to stop Kashimo. His trait also allows him to split up his cursed energy charges like actual electricity. When striking his opponent, Kashimo transfers a positive charge while he retains the negative. The result is a can't miss lightning strike without the use of domain expansion to easily tear through his opponents like Panda, taking down his big sister form in seconds. In other words, if Kashimo manages to set up this attack against Ryu, no matter how fast he is, he still won't be able to dodge. But we'll talk about that more later in the video. Kashimo does in fact have a curse technique, but since we don't know what it is, I'm not going to be taking it into account. Kashimo's power is best displayed during his fight with Akari. When brawling with Akari inside of his domain expansion, Kashimo clearly dominates and he's able to beat down Akari and hold the upper hand. But Akari's best showing in comparison to Kashimo is while he's in Jackpot. Unlike Panda, Hakari isn't affected by Kashimo's cursed energy trait because of his insanely high cursed energy output in Jackpot. It's important to keep in mind, however, that the aspect of Kashimo's cursed energy trait that Akari isn't affected by is the electrification and not the guaranteed hit, as we see him use many times on Akari. While the two seem to be neck and neck, Kashimo gains the upper hand numerous times and nearly kills Akari by using his lightning many times throughout the fight. His stomach and arms both get shredded by Kashimo's lightning strike, forcing him to regenerate using reverse curse technique. Throughout the fight, even while his opponent is constantly being replenished and healed, Kashimo is able to keep up. He's able to dodge kicks and blows from Akari and even counter accordingly. Kashimo is also able to take advantage and opportunity during his fights. He knows exactly when it's the right time to keep piling on attacks and press his opponents. Many Hakari fans have come to the conclusion that Hakari may be holding back while Kashimo isn't. This mainly stems from Kashimo not having the intent to kill Hakari, while Akari does not want to kill Kashimo because he wants to use his points. However, this argument assumes that Akari has the ability to kill Kashimo and he specifically isn't, which we don't know to be the case. Overall, Kashimo has the speed and power to overwhelm opponents like Panda and can even compete with insane fighters like Akari. Everything about Hakari and Kashimo's fight becomes even more impressive, however, when we begin to look at Akari's comparison to Yuta. Aside from them both being the two students especially acknowledged by Gojo and countless times being compared in the same context in the beginning of the story, their best comparison appears when Yuji asks about Akari's power. Yuta himself says that he's moody, but when he gets worked up, he's stronger than he is. What I had just read was the translation done by Viz Media, but the original kanji actually translates a little bit differently. Before we continue, let me give a little disclaimer. I'm not a Japanese speaker or translator for JJK, so I highly recommend you do your own research. The kanji says that he's only stronger than Yuta when he's in good form or on a roll. In Weekly Shonen Jump 29, we learned something similar. It explains that Megami and Yuji head out to go meet Akari to ask him to join the Culling games. What is this ability that makes him stronger than Yuta when he's on a roll? The raw kanji for the original statement made by Yuta more aligns with the Weekly Shonen Jump interpretation for him being on a roll rather than being worked up, making it likely that Viz mistranslated this statement. At bare minimum, we'll say that Jackpot Akari is on the same level as Yuta, who will now be around the same level as Kashimo, just to play it safe and not turn this into a Yuta vs Akari debate. But for now, let's compare Ryu. Ryu boasts having the highest cursed energy output out of all the players in the Culling games, which includes Akari and Kashimo. We'll circle back to that later, however. His cursed technique is cursed energy discharge, and it's one of the best abilities in his arsenal. It's the ability to fire cursed energy like a cannon blast through his opponents. While mainly Ryu fires cursed energy through his hair, he can also fire it from his back and send characters like Yuta flying. Ryu's granite blast is even powerful enough to burn off parts of Yuta's hand. Ryu is also the only sorcerer who's able to shoot the same amount of power regardless if he's activated his curse technique or not. He nearly one-shots Kurorushi and takes down a post-domain expansion aura with one granite blast. Ryu's granite blast is also so powerful that a fully powered granite blast can overpower one of Yuta's fully powered combined blasts made with Rika. When Yuta and Ryu begin to scrap, Yuta says that Ryu's output is so high and he releases cursed energy with near instantaneous explosiveness. Yuta also says that Ryu is so fast and precise that if he doesn't guard efficiently, he'd take damage. Even though this is a base Yuta who doesn't have full access to all of Rika's cursed energy, his body is still surging with so much cursed energy that Ryu even compares landing blows on Yuta to knocking against a water tank. Ryu is also able to damage Rika, who Ryu even says is more durable than Yuta, judging by how they both took Granite Blast. This same Rika, while she's able to knock back Ryu, she gets knocked back just as easily moments later. Both Ryu's Granite Blast and physical attack should be enough to damage Kashimo, and Kashimo's Lightning Strike should be enough to damage Ryu in return, meaning the battle really just comes down to technique. First, let's talk about Kashimo's cursed energy trait. We see during his fight with Akari, like I've already mentioned, with a high enough output of cursed energy, you can seemingly ignore the electrification factor of Kashimo's punches. While Ryu fans may be quick to jump to the conclusion that his high cursed energy output gives him the ability to ignore Kashimo's cursed energy trait, that's not necessarily true. Bear in mind that just because Ryu boasts having the highest cursed energy output, it doesn't mean it's true, as boasting by definition is just to praise oneself extravagantly in speech. While what Ryu's boasting could be the truth, it's unlikely or at bare minimum unknown if Ryu even knows anything about Kashimo to have him included in the statement. Even if we reference Kenjaku saying in the past that Ryu had the highest cursed energy output ever recorded during a time where Kashimo was around, a few problems arise. In short, we don't know the reliability of these records. We don't know how they're recorded or even how long they're recorded for. We don't know if Kashimo was even ever recorded to fairly say he ranked lower than Ryu. But even if just to be charitable, we'll say that Ryu does in fact have the highest cursed energy output out of all the Culling Games players. It still doesn't matter. As we see during Kashimo's fight with Akari, while having high cursed energy output can stop specifically the electrification factor in Kashimo's punches, his can't miss lightning strike should still shred through Ryu. While Ryu should be the physically stronger of the two, Kashimo having the slight edge speed-wise on Akari should also give him the slight edge along with his seemingly superior hand-to-hand combat skill against Ryu in close quarters. As long as Kashimo can keep the fight in close quarters, he should be able to contend and overwhelm Ryu with his speed. Like I mentioned earlier, Kashimo is really good at capitalizing on opportunity to keep the pressure on his opponents, and he'll eventually end the fight using his can't miss lightning strike to eviscerate Ryu as he's done to Akari in the past. As far as we know, Ryu doesn't possess reverse curse technique to come back from any sort of damage this severe. Even if we take into account Ryu's domain expansion, Kashimo can use Hollow Wicker Basket to negate the domain's guaranteed hit if Ryu even has one. But as we all know, inside domains, the sorcerers get a stat boost due to the environment. Whether the hypothetical domain boosted Ryu would receive enough of a boost to beat down Kashimo, we don't know. But let me know in the comments below. If you enjoy Jujutsu Kaisen content, please leave a like and subscribe, and comment on some video ideas you want to see be done down below.